What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the content I watch on the WWE Network. So for the last couple of weeks now, we've been having a different schedule than what I've been used to doing for the past couple of months, is having my review of whatever airs on Raw or after a pay-per-view on the WWE Network. I talk about that here on WWE Network and Chill on Sundays, and then on Mondays we have another episode of WWE Network and Chill talking about the latest episode of Total Divas. So last week, because Total Divas didn't air, and I didn't realize that until like the day before, like a few days before Thanksgiving, that it wasn't airing because of the holiday, we had the WWE Network and Chill episode covering the I'm saying WWE a lot here, the 365 episode of Kevin Owens, the season premiere, show premiere, whatever. I covered that last Monday. So if you want to check that out, be sure to go back and check out the previous installment of WWE Network and Chill. But today, we're talking about another new episode of a show that went up on the network after Raw this week. Table for Three is back, this time covering Sting, Ric Flair, and Ricky Steamboat in an episode entitled Legendary Rivals. I feel like we've seen Ric Flair on this show at least 3 different times. I know he was on here with the Four Horsemen a while ago. I think he was on the show over the summer with Randy Orton and Bruno Sammartino. I could be wrong. I mean, I feel like I've seen him on the show at least 2 or 3 other times. And maybe the third time that I'm thinking of is that he was supposed to be on the show a few months back, but they delayed the episode. I think it was this one, because he got sick. I think the episode was supposed to air, I think maybe the week that he got sick and was put in the hospital. But because they thought it would be poor taste, they didn't air it, so they held off on airing it for a few months. So we got it here, about 17 minutes long, not too long. So we start off the show with Ric Flair complaining that they're eating at 8 o'clock in the morning. So is it really a dinner? You would think, I never really thought about that. They film these things over WrestleMania weekend, SummerSlam weekend, the big weekends like that, I would imagine. But it always seems like they're eating dinner, but Ric Flair just admitted right here it was 8 o'clock in the fucking morning. So they must have been having breakfast, if anything at all. I can't even remember if they ate. I'm pretty sure they just sat down and talked. But anyway, Ric Flair talks about seeing Steamboat all the time and other signings and stuff like that. He admits that he brings up how Steamboat has a new wife. He's got a new house, so congrats to him. Sting talks about his wife of 2 years. They got married, I think, over WrestleMania weekend. And he talked about it in his DVD that went out a couple years ago, which was a great DVD, by the way. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, he talks about his new life and remarrying a couple years ago. Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat recall the first match they ever had and how they had chemistry right off the bat. And Ric Flair also recalls beating down Sting in WCW in some sort of angle where he was teaming with Sting, but in the end he turned on him and rejoined the Four Horsemen. They had another angle and on another WCW show where it involved, I don't know if it was War Games or just a steel cage match. So Ric Flair was inside the cage. Sting tried to get inside, and while he was climbing the cage, something happened where he burst out his your kneecap or something like that, his patella, and he got a really serious knee injury, and he could feel like the kneecap up above where his thigh should be. That's fucking, it just gives me the creeps just thinking about it. But so I guess he got injured in the middle of the angle. Ric Flair had no idea. Being typical Ric Flair, Ric Flair's laughing about this all these years later while Sting is recalling the story. So Sting is in the aisleway, and the whole idea is that the security or the wrestlers, whoever, is holding Sting back from Ric Flair and vice versa. So Sting is being held back from Ric Flair. Ric Flair climbs over the cage wall or goes to the door or whatever. He goes to confront Sting, having no idea that he's hurt, even though people are telling him, hey, Sting is fucking hurt, don't go after him. Ric Flair goes after him anyway, jumps up on top of Sting and over the top of the security people and whatever else. And Sting's like, get the fuck away from me, I'm hurt. And you can tell from the footage that he's kind of bouncing on one leg because the other leg is fucked up. And it was a pretty funny story. Let's see here. They share some road stories. Ricky Steamboat talks about confronting Ric Flair in a store. I forgot what the exact story was about, but I thought it was entertaining. They discuss kayfabe being dead and how today is a completely different time to be in wrestling than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. Ric Flair even admits that he thinks SmackDown is the better show over Raw. Now, again, I don't know when this was filmed. I thought the Bruno, Orton, Ric Flair one might have been filmed over Mania weekend. So that being said, I'm not sure when this one would have been filmed. maybe over SummerSlam weekend. But then again, I think, like I said earlier, I think it was supposed to air the week that Ric Flair got sick, which I think was in July. But at any rate, he does outright say that he thinks SmackDown is better than Raw. Then again, his daughter's on SmackDown, so does it really surprise you that he's saying that? It shouldn't. I mean, nowadays, Raw and SmackDown are pretty much equal. SmackDown is a bit better than Raw most weeks, but it's not the same lopsided battle that it was around this time a year ago, where SmackDown was demolishing Raw week after week. They all talk about, how WWE right now is in a good place, the product is doing well. They discuss the rivalries of today and how they compare to the rivalries they had back in the day between Ric Flair and Steamboat and Ric Flair and Sting. So obviously this would not be a table for three without Ric Flair bringing up his daughter Charlotte Flair, and he compares his various iconic rivalries to the one that he has witnessed in recent years between Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. And we get several clips of Sasha and Charlotte from NXT, over the Raw Women's Championship, the WrestleMania match, the three-way with Becky a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago. So, of course, he's comparing himself to his daughter, which makes sense. He does say that she is a better athlete than he ever could ask to be, but he does still cut better promos. He outright says that, which is pretty funny, which it's true. So anyway, Sting brings up Shane, and this has to be WrestleMania weekend. This has to be WrestleMania weekend because they're kind of talking about what he might do this year at WrestleMania, and what he might do in the match against AJ Styles, because they show a clip of him jumping off the top of the cell in that match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 32. And he also recalls seeing Shane backstage and how he was super focused on the match that night with Taker and everything else. Steamboat brings up the Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt build-up. So, again, this has to be before WrestleMania 33. So I'm not sure when the other episode of The Flair was filmed, or if they just had him record 2 table for threes in the same weekend, which has to be overkill. But anyway, so Steamboat brings up Orton and Wyatt, the build-up. They praise Bray Wyatt. They must not watch the product every week. And maybe they did criticize the Wyatt character and saying they're not booking him properly. And they just cut it out because it's a WWE show. But they do praise Bray Wyatt. They say that he's very old school. He reminds them of them and other people they know from their own era. And again, like I said, they praise the Orton and Wyatt build-up with Orton burning down the house. And I thought it was a goofy build-up. The match sucked. The feud sucked after Orton turned on the Wyatt family earlier on this year. So this has to be happening right over WrestleMania weekend. Otherwise, I'm not sure. They must not have seen the match they had at Mania that night because it was fucking terrible. I was there. Flair talks about being honored to have inducted both men into the Hall of Fame, both Sting and Steamboat, in 2009 and 2016, respectively. And Ric Flair says that Sting coming over to WWE, not only for the Hall of Fame, but just being recognized in general by the WWE, was long overdue. And we close out the episode with Ric Flair calling them both legitimately nice guys. Then Steamboat says to Sting, "Is he working us again?" So I thought it was a good episode, nothing too newsworthy. As is always the case with these Table for Three shows, they're never really all that newsworthy, they're fun. They're just good fun between 3 old friends, in this case Sting, Ric Flair, and Ricky Steamboat. Definitely check it out on the WWE Network. Legendary Rivals, not as long as some of the other episodes. It's only about 17 minutes long, so definitely check it out when you can on the WWE Network. That being said, folks, thank you for checking out my review of the show. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. All the support is greatly appreciated. As I mentioned earlier, I will be back tomorrow here on WWE Network and Chill to offer my review of episode, I think 4 of, maybe it's 5, I'm pretty sure it's 4, of Total Divas Season 7 that aired this past Wednesday on the E! Network, so stay tuned for that. And as is always the case, folks, be sure to follow me on the socials, on Twitter, at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews, and find me right here on YouTube by, like I said earlier, subscribing to the channel for more daily content. With all that being said, folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.